Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Agung Prayugo, and as for today, I will explain a research paper called Phonology-Based Reading Instruction to Improve Dyslexic Students' Early Reading Ability. Dyslexic students struggle to learn how to read, yet few studies reported on how dyslexic students learn to read. In this respect, special education teachers have adopted a myriad of ways to overcome reading problems of the dyslexic students. To respond to this need, the purpose of this study is to examine how phonology-based reading instruction could help dyslexic students improve their early reading abilities. The result of the study showed that phonology-based reading instruction had a positive impact on improving the dyslexic students' early reading abilities, particularly in Bahasa Indonesia medium reading texts. This suggests that phonology-based reading instruction could effectively be implemented if special education teachers could enact phonological instruction as a prerequisite for identifying the student's early reading ability and phonic instruction as an instructional reinforcement for building students' early reading repertoire. Introduction. Reading is a complex process that involves physical and mental abilities to interpret the meaning of a text. Learning to read also involves linguistic and cognitive capacities. For example, readers should have the ability to decode, recognize sight words, and associate what is read with the knowledge they have. These micro-reading abilities are prerequisite for both accuracy and fluency in reading so that the learners can easily understand what has been read. In the case of accuracy and fluency, reading particularly in special education contexts, dyslexic children have difficulty in understanding letters, symbols in the appropriate sequence of sounds during the decoding process. They could not recognize words by sight. This hinders children from reading text accurately and fluently. Processing phonological features of language is a driver of difficulty in identifying words which help them understand alphabet system. Inaccurate phonology represents contribute to difficulty of obtaining letter mapping and decoding letters. This research employed a mixed method design in the form of multi-stage evaluation design, where quantitative and qualitative approaches were adopted. This study aims to formulate a reading learning strategy for dyslexic students so that it is expected to improve the ability to read among beginner students through linguistic-based reading learning strategy, designed conceptually and factually. The nature of data in this study requires qualitative and quantitative data interpretation. Firstly, qualitative data analysis is focused on capturing the objective condition of dyslexic students in general regarding their academic abilities, early reading, linguistic awareness, and the process of learning to read. Secondly, quantitative data analysis is needed to measure variable quantitative data processing in use to determine the effect of linguistic-based reading and learning strategies applied to students by looking at the impact of change in students' initial reading skill before and after the intervention of reading to learn intervention. The participants of this study consist of 4 primary school students with special needs. Through a probability sampling strategy, to gain access to participants, researchers conduct licensing procedures for the school and parents, so that the research process can be done in school hours and at home. Before the experiments, the students were told about the research and its objective. They all agreed to participate in the experiments. Intervention phonology-based instruction. In the phonology-based reading instruction strategy stage, the first focus is to promote phonological awareness. The material taught refers to materials that will hone students' ability in understanding and manipulating the sound so that it can form words in spoken language. The material to be taught on phonological awareness is divided into 3 parts, namely word awareness, syllabic instruction, and phonemic instruction. Data collection and analysis. Data was collected through phonological processing tests and reading tests, which has 3 subjects consisting of phonological awareness, phonological memory, and rapid automatized naming. The test on phonological processing used the clinical assessment of phonological processing standard Indonesia. The score data obtained were analyzed by using quantitative data analysis. The process of analyzing qualitative data in the first and second stage is done through data collection, data reduction, data display, and conclusion. Based on the result of interviews and observation in general, the 4 research subjects had the same type of dyslexia, namely phonological dyslexia. This was obtained from observational data when reading learning process was carried out, and it was seen that the 4 students had difficulty reading words due to the difficulty understanding sound and applying symbol of sound and surface dyslexia. It is just the degree of severity, which is different between subject one from another object. The analysis shows that the 4 subjects often experience exchange of letters that sound similar. For example, in the sounding the letters fe with pe, and then f with pe, and then b with d. In general, the 4 subjects have difficulty connecting sounds with symbol in writing, and vice versa, because the barriers they experience are the impact of the ability to read syllables and words. Errors in reading in general include consistency in the pattern and the same letters in words that have sequence of letters with similar shapes. The subject tend to misread. For example, the word chalana or pants are read as chalaha because the letter N and H are still often confusing to them. Based on data analysis, this error occurred because the subject guessed the word when looking at the word pattern globally, but the representation is partial, so the sequence of letters that are seen is not like the sound that should be mentioned. The teacher who became the homeroom teacher did not seem to have the knowledge, understanding, and skill in teaching reading to the student with dyslexia barriers, and there is no proper handling of the teaching of reading for them in school. This can be seen from the conversation conducted by the teacher with the researcher. The teacher considered students who cannot read in their class were incapable students and having difficulties learning like children in general. The teacher believed that the way to teach reading was the best, like what the teacher said in the interview. The learning to read approach that the teacher used as a synthetic approach, using the part to the whole approach. In this approach, students learn to construct words in the entirety and the part from small parts, starting from memorizing all the names of letters, combining letters into syllables, reading all syllables from ba to zo. After that, the students start reading the words. Sentence and paragraphs. The reading method taught by the teacher was by spelling, where students were asked to name each letter in the word and then combine the sound of each name of the letter into syllables, and then mention the sound of the syllable to form a word. Improved ability of the subject in reading is marked by an increase in the score of phonological processing tests and the result of the decoding test after the intervention provision of phonology-based reading instruction. In general, scores obtained from all 4 subjects indicates improvements. The increase was seen significantly from the stage during the intervention. This can be seen from the increase from the initial baseline obtained by 20% increase to 70% after the intervention. This means that the intervention carried out on the aspect of linguistic awareness, especially on phonological awareness, have a positive impact on change in the abilities that the subject have. From the 4 figures, there is an improvement of 4 research subjects on phonology skill and early reading abilities. The increase is seen significantly from the start of the intervention based on the overall data analysis to the intervention provided in the form of phonology-based reading instruction strategy to the 4 research subjects. All 4 students with dyslexia turn out to indicate an effect on increasing their early reading ability. The increase in students' ability was marked by the increase in the score of phonological processing tests and reading test result after the intervention or giving phonology-based reading instruction, as well as overlapping data on baseline condition and intervention in all 4 subjects were not more than 90%, which means the influence of the intervention can be believed. Based on the result of the study, phonology-based reading instruction strategy developed based on phonological awareness has a positive impact on improving the ability to read early dyslexic students. These shreds of evidence are shown by the improving ability of research subject in early reading, such as the ability to read words and sentence. Even far from that, after the implementation of this strategy, the subject under study are able to read new words and sentences from the word and sentence taught by repositioning the sound in the words or sentence he learned. Based on the result of the study, the reading learning strategy based on linguistic awareness has a positive impact on improving the reading ability of the beginning of dyslexic students. This is because in the process of learning to read, first build linguistic awareness through phonological instruction as the main requirement of reading skills. The series of reading lessons longer only start from recognizing letters, reading syllables, words, sentence, and paragraphs. But beforehand, a phonological instruction was carried out which include word awareness, syllabic instruction, and phonemic instruction. Operationally, the application of linguistic-based reading learning strategy for dyslexic student is taken into two stages. The first stage is phonological instruction as a prerequisite for learning to read, and the second stage, phonic instruction. Real reading learning. The reading learning process begins with building reading prerequisite, namely teaching phonological awareness, and then the next step, learning to read by using a synthetic approach with phonic methods. Preparation of reading material is made based on the easiest word patterns to the most difficult word patterns. Reading material is arranged by a selection of words that are easily to understood and close to the students. In addition, the preparation of material in phonological instruction is based on consideration in fulfilling the elements of blending, segmenting, deleting, addition, substitution, and sound isolation at the level of words, syllables, and phonemes. All of these are basic of the ability to manipulate sound as the basic ability to decode reading activities. In phonic instruction, a reading learning approach used is a synthetic approach, part-to-whole approach. Student learns to build whole words from small parts through explicit instruction in changing letters into sounds and then mixing them so they can be arranged and formed into sound of the word spoken. This approach was chosen because it can strengthen visual and auditory association through search. Breaking sound into small parts makes it easy for dyslexic students to decode words. Reading material is arranged based on the selection of words that are easily understood and close to students. The words and syllables chosen are also in accordance with the calculation of the highest frequency of occurrence. This is an assumption that the words and syllables taught are effective words and syllables, so that from a few syllables and the word being taught will produce many new words and new sentences. The success of the reading process is mainly influenced by good linguistic abilities, especially in phonology aspects. This has implication for the reading learning strategy developed. That teaching about phonology is very important to do as an initial stage in teaching readings. There are several things that are lacking in this study due to the limited time available, so that the result in limited research only in answering the purpose of the research that has been made. One of them is that this study had just tested its effectiveness on a scale limited to 4 research subjects. The formulation of this linguistic-based reading learning strategy has not yet been explored extensively, so generalization cannot be taken. Therefore, this can be recommended to further researchers to be able to do broad tests and see the effectiveness of reading learning strategy that has been formulated. Based on research finding and literature study, which have implication for the design of phonology-based reading learning strategy, the formulation of phonology-based reading learning strategy applied to dyslexic student consists of two-stage learning, namely the phonological instruction and phonics instruction. Phonological instruction aims to hone students' abilities in understanding and manipulating sounds which can form words in spoken languages, while phonic instruction aims to teach reading skill, particularly the link between the letter in the alphabet with the sounds. Thank you for your attention. That's all from me. I'm sorry if I made a lot of mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.